Hello everyone, Mr. Bauman here, and today I am going to provide you with a quick walkthrough on how to access our classwork on Google Classroom and how to log into our Bring Science Alive textbook via Clever and TCI. All right, so this is going to be a quick walkthrough, and this works with grades 6, 7, and 8. So first thing that you do is you have your students log on to Chrome on their Chromebooks, and there are a couple ways they can do it. Number one, they're going to go to Google Classroom first, so that's classroom.google.com, and that will bring them to their home screen on Classroom, and that will have all of their classes listed. And students should have all of their Google Classrooms ready to go. Most of them were logged into these classes before the school shut down due to COVID-19. And I'm going to use my 6th grade science class today as an example. And when you come to our Google Classrooms, the first thing you'll see is a nice banner at the top, and then you're going to have your students go to Classwork. So for next week, assignment number 1 for my students, and this is going to be very similar for all of our classes, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Assignments will be listed with assignment details on Google Classroom. So as an example for next week, my students are going to start using their Forces and Energy book, and that's on TCI, Bring Science Alive, and all of their work will be due before 4 o'clock on Fridays. So students are going to check out the introduction, read or listen to it. There are no questions to answer. Then they move on to section number 1, which is position. They're going to read or listen to the section and answer questions 1 through 2. Now, after you have your assignment details, you've gone over them, you've looked at them, it's time to go to Bring Science Alive. Now, to get to our Bring Science Alive book, students have to make a stop at Clever to log in. So to do that, step number 1 was Google Classroom. Step number 2 is Clever. It's clever.com. It's a smart URL. It's pretty clever. You see what I did there? It was a pretty funny joke. All right. So they will log in as a student. So they will click this blue button, and they have to use their Gibraltar student account, which is their 8-digit number at gibdis.org. Not their personal student Gmail, but the one provided by the Gibraltar School District. So for me, I got to go in a little different. I have to use my teacher login, and this works very similar. Once students log in using their Gibraltar account, they're going to click on this purple TCI subscription right here. And their screen might look a little different, but they're going to find TCI. Click on that. Clever's logging in right now. And now you have access to Bring Science Alive. Each grade has 3 textbooks. Make sure you're using the right one. For my students, they're going to be using Forces and Energy. So you click on the book, and once you get to your book, all of the links will be provided on Google Classroom. So for instance, my students will be using the introduction, and I can now click on this link, and it should bring me right to the introduction. If you don't log in with Clever, you won't be able to get into your textbook. You cannot log directly into the TCI website. You must go through Clever first, and that's what students sometimes forget to do, and they will not have access to the book. So you have to go in through Clever first. All right, so right here, this is an example of an introduction. They just read or listen to this, and I'll show you how to listen to it in just a second. All right, vocabulary at the top. Now I'm going to jump into section 1, which is position. And like I said, students can either read or listen to this. And now when I say listen to it, if your house is a little chaotic and you have multiple students working from home, when it comes science time, your students can simply just take their earbuds, plug them into their computer, and they can click right on the play button here. And you won't be able to hear it in my recording, but once the students hit play, the book reads to them. It's so cool. And right now, I'm not sure if you can hear this or not in my recording, but there's a voice reading to them, and the word that is being focused on is in blue. All right, so the book will actually read to them. They can highlight inside their interactive textbook. They can add notes. If you have to print something at home, PDF it, you can do that right here. And if the reading level is too difficult for your student, they can dial it down to level B, and that will adjust the text for them if they're having a hard time comprehending the content. All right, so you have awesome content to read or listen to, great visuals here that show how the science works. Scroll on down to the bottom. Each section will have anywhere from 2 to 5 questions. This one has 2 questions. Again, the text will read to them if need be. They just click on the speaker. And then in the answer section, have your students give a thoughtful answer, not a 3 or 4 word answer, but explain their thinking. The whole purpose of TCI Bring Science Alive is to think like a scientist. And we want to know what their thoughts are behind that. If it's a simple definition, that's one thing, but if it asks them to explain, make sure that you have a lot of thought put in your answer. And that's pretty universal for 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade. After you're done with a section, head on over to the side here to the vocabulary cards, and students can study all of the words on their vocabulary cards, and it's really quite cool. So you have the word, you have the definition onto your next card. So this is velocity, flip it over, an object's speed and direction of motion, flip it again onto the next, and they can study their cards just like that. And then finally, when they're all done with their work, they've read or listened to all of the sections that are required, answered all the questions, they're going to go to the lesson game. And the lesson game is the wrap up for the lesson. So describing motion, the game is universal knowledge. In this section of the 6th grade book, there are 20 questions. I believe they're all multiple choice. Students will click on them, answer them, and then when it's all said and done, we get the score. Now, please do us a favor, take your time, work your way through it, don't speed on through. There are no bonus points for getting the question done in a second or two. Make sure that you answer them all, do a good job, and we will see the score. A score of 2 out of 20, not a good score. A score of like 18, 19 out of 20, that's great. You know, and I know we're not gonna have scores that high, but we can definitely tell the students that put the work into it. So make sure you encourage your students to slow down, do an awesome job here, and don't do the game until they're done with all the section work and they know the vocabulary. And again, all the work will be due on Friday of each week before 4 p.m. So again, just to recap, you start off classroom.google.com. Either you can add the URL, or right here, another way, you could click on your Google Apps, find Classroom, that would do it. Then students, after they've read the assignment details, they're going to go to clever.com, click on their purple TCI subscription. Then they move into their TCI Bring Science Alive book. They have things to read or listen to, questions to answer, vocabulary to study, and at the end of the week, make sure they do the lesson game. And one more thing for Google Classroom, all of our meeting times will be posted on our streams. And I believe we will be having Wednesday virtual office hours. So this is how you do it. This is how you use Google Classroom, Clever, and TCI Bring Science Alive to make sure your students are getting science done while they're at home. And as always, if you have any questions, please reach out to your student's teacher. Just send us an email. We'll be happy to respond and help you out. So with that being said, I hope this tutorial was helpful. We miss everybody on behalf of the science department. Thank you for the hard work you're doing at home. We've got a couple weeks to go in this school year, and just follow what we have laid out on Google Classrooms and you'll do just fine. So with that being said, thank you for tuning in and checking out today's tutorial. We appreciate it, and have an awesome day.